Fishing trips anywhere, anytime. FishingBooker.com. Want to plan your next fishing trip without the hassle? FishingBooker.com is the best way to find and book a fishing charter anywhere in the world. Whether you're chasing trophy fish or just looking for a family day on the water, Fishing Booker makes it simple, fast, and secure. With thousands of experienced guides, verified reviews, and 24/7 customer support, Fishing Booker takes the guesswork out of planning. Visit FishingBooker.com and book your trip today. Fishing Booker. Fishing trips made easy.
Create stories for life on a Scenic Eclipse Mediterranean voyage. With Scenic, it's more than a journey of a lifetime. It's ultra-luxury cruising along elegant European Rivieras and idyllic Italian coastlines. It's being immersed in the history and culture of glamorous cities, towns, and villages. It's colourful architecture, landscapes, and regional cuisine. Scenic Eclipse, in a class of its own. Book your all-inclusive voyage now and save.
Welcome to DSC's Campfires with Larry Weissoon, a unique blend of hunting, fishing, wildlife conservation, and the outdoor lifestyle. DSC's Campfires is brought to you by DSC, Conservation, Education, and Hunter Advocacy. Hornady, accurate, deadly, dependable. Taurus, award-winning revolvers and pistols. Stealth Vision, high-tech, precision-driven equipment for the modern hunter. Mossberg, American-built, American-strong. Vineyard Max, deer attractants created for the aroma of success, game feeders, and other innovative hunting products. Red 55 Winery, signature wines from the Emmy Award-winning country artist Miranda Lambert, owned by Rick and Beverly Lambert. Welcome to another DSC's Campfires, and this morning I have the great privilege of sitting out in the sunshine a little bit west of Houston with Miss Rebecca Jones, who happens to be, among other things, the new director, one of our new directors with the DSC. Miss Rebecca, welcome to DSC. Not that you've not been involved for a long time, but particularly to being a director.
Well, thank you so much, Larry. I am thrilled to be part of DSC, but I'm also as equally thrilled this morning to be sitting here with you in the sunshine.
Well, now I'm truly honored. For those people who might not know who Miss Rebecca Jones is, tell us a little bit about your background and what brought you to DSC?
Well, absolutely. I've got to say that I was first introduced to DSC a couple of years ago. I came to DSC as a volunteer. My very first experience with DSC was actually stuffing bags for the convention.
Perfect.
Yes. I saw a call out on social media. I was a member, and I saw a call out on social media, and I had an hour or two in between some meetings, and I thought, I'm going to head on down to that head office, and I'm going to stuff some bags. And it was at that time that I met a couple of the folks who actually worked there, and then a whole bunch of the volunteers. And I was blown away, honestly, just by the commitment and the love and the passion for the organization, but for what the organization stood for and the work that they were doing. And so, in that time, I met Brian and Corey, who was there at the time, and they said, have you been to a convention? And I'm like, no. And they said, are you ready to have your mind blown? I'm like, yes, I am, sir. And I subsequently then attended my first convention, and I think it just changed a whole ton of perspectives, which we can jump into. But I was just incredibly impressed by, honestly, the passion and the commitment to what the organization stands for, and its advocacy, its education. And I'm a mom, I have a young kid, and what I work for, I know my child's going to inherit in the future, whether it's what I privately acquire or what we publicly, have available. And so that's a big deal. It's a really big deal. So to be now not quite the forefront, I will always say to anybody, my best work happens behind the scenes, lifting up the people who are really doing the most important work. But I'm so happy to be part of what's going on behind the scenes to push this organization forward.
Well, there are a lot of great things that go on. The things you do on the backside of things, how important those things are.
Yes, completely. And, there are phenomenal folks, in every organization, but DSC, who are really the the front line. I mean, we've got that incredible workforce who helps get everything done, but we all know it's the membership base and it's the exhibitors that turn up. I mean, that's really the driving force there, and how the funds and the dollars get raised for us to be able to do this incredible work. And so I'm just sort of very much, in the background and happy to be there with the board of directors, helping navigate and guide and provide leadership where it's necessary to help move us along.
But it started with volunteerism, didn't it?
Completely. And so, when I think about my own hunting journey, I've been a fisherman my whole life. I mean, some of my earliest memories are with my dad fishing. So if you consider fishing hunting, then clearly I've been a hunter my whole life.
Yes.
I have just changed where and the method of take. But as I think about maybe my on-land, with a firearm hunting journey, which is a little bit more recent, there have been so many people that have supported my journey that it's impossible to think that I can't give back. It just is an impossibility to not go forward and realize that I either have to pay it forward, always pay it back, but definitely pay it forward. And volunteerism is just a phenomenal way to do that. So when you have an organization like DSC that is what it is because of this incredible, volunteer network, membership network, it's a no-brainer, right? It's a no-brainer, Larry. They make it very easy, or we make it very easy to get involved. And so I'm thrilled to think of how I've been able to help very, very minimally, but something as a volunteer, and that we just have so many great volunteers in the org.
I get tickled for over the years before the convention. We always had the DSC 100, and I can remember a time. Of course, I've been with the DSC, I don't know how many years, since about 1985, 84, somewhere along through there, kind of thing. But back then, it truly was the DSC 100. There were 100 volunteers, and now that 100 volunteers, I think the last time I talked to anybody, it was like 600 or 700. So now it refers to 100% kind of thing. And that's one of the fantastic things about the DSC organization, if you will, that when you get right down to it, we've got some very key people involved in the offices, but it's the volunteers that really make everything that goes on, particularly when we get close to the convention. Looking forward, to me, I've always called it a big family reunion. And it is in so many different ways. You pretty well know a lot of the folks that's there, and those that you don't know, those 30, 40,000 people, by the time you leave, you feel like you do know them. And I think that's a big part of DSC. Is that one of the reasons I think maybe that you might have become involved?
Yeah, absolutely. I am a very community-driven person. I get my energy from other people. And so for me, listen, Larry, I love to be out there with the solitude of nature and by myself.
Amen.
And
I think we all do.
We do. And I might have even thrown a fishing line in with no bait on it before, just so people, leave me alone. I'll do that. But to me, the most exciting part of being in the outdoors, in the space, is that community. And so that's what really, really drew me to DSC in particular, as an organization, is that community. And you call it family. I mean, that's what family is. Exactly. It's a community that's there for each other. And I love that. And even now, I'll fish, I'll hunt, I'll be in the outdoor space, and I do it apart but together. So I want to come back to camp at night and have my girlfriends or my friends and their kids, and we share stories. That's how histories are told, and that's how progress is made. And so that's what I love about the org, without a doubt.
What is your vision of DSC, maybe at the present and particularly moving forward?
Yeah, it's a really great question, and I love that you've put me on the spot 4 days in. but it's important to have a perspective and a point of view, and I had that coming in when I was nominated. And I'll tell you this, I sort of referred to it a little bit before, where I have a young child, and it's insanely critical for me that she gets to grow up in a world and an environment where she has the same rights and abilities and opportunities that we have right now. And the only way that we're going to do that is if our wildlife exists, that we have the habitat in which they are able to live and to be and to exist, and that we have a group of people and a community of people that care about that preservation. And so for me, when I think of DSC and the community, right now, the most immediate need is making sure we have incredible communication, that we have membership engagement, that people have a voice, that they tell us what's going on, what's important, what's important to them, what's important to conservation and advocacy going forward. And that's critical and huge. And I'm so excited that Rob's on board, because that is his MO. And it's going to only get better. But for the future, and where I see myself really being able to help be a voice in the background, is around education and around that next generation, that multi-generational approach. Because it's one thing to say, we hunt, we fish, we care. But if our kids are growing up in a world where it's becoming less possible, or we have these generations coming up where maybe their parents or their uncles or their grandparents weren't involved, how are they going to learn? How are they going to get involved? How are they going to make sure that they don't get swept up in conversations that are not just neutral but anti, yes. And so we have this incredible commitment. We have this incredible charge that's sort of given to us to sort of say, we're going to be active now, but we have to get that next generation excited to be an active participant, not just in the sports, but an active participant in the conservation and the protection. This has to be a multi-generational approach. And so, I'm very much about the advocacy, about, the conservation efforts and the actions, but I'm extremely passionate about education and that next generation engagement.
That's so very important, and not only as far as I'm concerned, as far as the youth is concerned, but the young adults, and even the grandmas and grandpas. When you get right down to it, we're all in. I keep saying a lot of times, we're all in this together, and we really are. And by that I mean not just individuals, but individuals of different age classes, of different backgrounds, if you will, of different economic statuses as well too. There's something that all of us can do, no matter who you are, to help wildlife and to have a positive influence with others who maybe not quite understand how important hunting is to conservation and all those kind of things. To me, that's a big part of what we do as well too.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Larry. And I know I sort of said next generation a couple of times, but I also said
that covers a lot of ground.
That covers a lot of ground, but I also say multi-generation, because you're spot on. And I think one of the most exciting hunts that I was on quite recently, actually, I was out in Arizona chasing some of those wild desert birds, and the group of us that were on the hunt, my daughter, who was 6 at the time, and the age range, there was this wonderful woman who was north of 60, might have been north of a few more years, north plus a little extra, and this was her first experience out doing this. And think about that, a 60 plus age group difference in the space. And this, you see the world through different eyes and different lenses, but the message that we took away was, this is really cool, and it's really important that we enjoy it and we share it and we make sure that this exists for other people beyond just us today. And that was so critically important. And you can be any age getting involved. You just got to care, and you're going to want to be able to share that.
And I think I'm seeing that more all the time. I've been involved. We started the Texas Wildlife Association back in 1985. I was one of the 3 founders. And, of course, we're celebrating our 40th anniversary here in July, very closely to the DSC Foundation Gala as well, too. And one of the things that we've always prided ourselves in with that organization is to bring people to the outdoors. And it's done through a great variety of ways, including working with teachers. I was in a meeting not very long ago, and with that organization, which I'm very proud to say is very closely aligned with DSC and vice versa. But in the last, say, 8 or 10 years, we've probably brought 80,000 school kids who were taught wildlife as a result of that organization. And some of that money, thankfully, came through DSC, through the DSC Foundation. But also there, we've got a youth hunting program where we've taken now 30,000 some odd kids hunting, along with a parent or guardian. And to me, it's one of those things, we're talking about education. It's so very important that we educate Are all those kids that were talked about going to be hunters in the future? No, probably not. But now they have a better understanding to where they can make up their own minds based on what somebody's telling them rather than just being followers of things. And I think that becomes a very important part, too, of what we do through DSC.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And Larry, fun fact, you might not know this, but I actually learned to hunt through the Texas Wildlife Association Adult Learn to Hunt program.
Did you really? Now I'm truly impressed, and I'm truly proud and glad. That is fantastic.
Yes, and two hunting events, two incredibly core critical hunting events. I did a Women of the Land dove hunt. It was the first time I ever went bird hunting, and I was there with 20 other women, and it was the first time I'd ever engaged in bird hunting. It was crazy, wild, wonderful, very safe, wonderful educational experience. And I followed it up a few weeks later with my very first whitetail doe hunt. And I learned to hunt through that exact program that you had been such a pioneer of, the entire organization in the early days. But it's incredible to think what it's grown to. And actually, we talk about volunteerism and giving back. Insanely important. I'm actually now a mentor for the Adult Learn to Hunt program.
Oh my goodness.
So I have come full circle and know how important it is not just to take from a program, but very importantly to give back, either financially or through time. And so I'm a huge supporter of that org as well, and giving my time there too, because it's such an incredible program. The kids one's amazing. I've done the Hunt Master program with the youth program. But I'm a little bit more actively involved with the adult side at the moment.
Oh my gracious! Thank you so very much for doing so. I did not know that. Now I'm really impressed. Well, to me, that's one of the things that I've tried to do for a long time, is to get DSC and TWA more aligned, particularly in projects that we can do in Texas or jointly do to help different places. I think that is another great way to make people more aware of DSC. As someone who travels and talks and meets with a lot of different people, I'm continually today even amazed at the number of people who don't know what DSC is. And I think some people in the past have kind of been scared off because it was the Dallas Safari Club, and safari is nothing but more than a Swahili term that means going on a journey or an adventure kind of thing. And so usually when somebody asks me what DSC stands for, I say, oh, that's Dallas Squirrel Hunters Association kind of thing, but I think I love what you're saying. I love where you hit it and all this kind of thing. Thank you so much for being involved with TWA and, of course, being involved with DSC now. So I am truly, truly proud to see you there. What are some of the ways you think we can make people more aware of DSC and the great things they do, and to get our message out a little bit? We're talking communications, and communication is absolutely so important. But what do you see? What do you think DSC might be able to do? Just some basic ideas, or just something way off in the left field somewhere?
Wow, that's great. Let's pull out some of the old marketing communications work here. I'm sure I'll get a phone call on this later. No, it's a really great point. I will say a couple of things about communication. To assume that you can say something one time and that people either hear it, read it, see it, understand it is ridiculous.
It doesn't happen.
It just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. I mean, how many times do you have to tell a kid to, clean up their room and make their bed? Like, if we learn anything, we know that even from a young age. We don't listen. And so I think with communication, the key is consistency and regularity of what that is. And you hit it right on the head, Larry. There's so much incredible work that's going on. And, here I am sitting in a seat where I technically should have all the access in the world, and I do. And I'll read something, I'm like, wow, I didn't know that. How did I not know that? Let's figure out why I didn't know that, because I guarantee you a ton of other people don't. And how do we close that gap? And so there's so many different channels, and you and what you're doing with this podcast work is just incredible. I mean, it's just one tiny sliver of an amazing career and work that you've done.
It's one of the cogs in the wheel.
One of the that's it. It's one piece, and we are at this incredible time digitally where there's so many other channels available. I have like I said, I'll keep talking about my kid till the end of time, but she has mastered technology like nobody I've ever seen. And this child will navigate through safely. There's parental controls, everybody, but very safely through YouTube. And she's finding and discovering things, within sort of this online environment, again, safely, but information and content and she'll come and she'll tell me something about, she was telling me about Gila monsters the other day. I'm like, what's a Gila monster? And the 7-year-old's telling me about this lizard that we find here. And, she wants one. And we're not getting a Gila monster. But it demonstrates to me sort of the power of what's out there, in the digital space, and that people will find information. But if we're not there, we're not going to be found. And so we have to be on social. We have to sort of look at all of these different avenues and channels and be consistent and regular and all of those types of things to make sure that message is out there. And it can't be just one way, Larry. Feedback is a loop. It has to be a two-way street. And I think, we all have to realize that not every idea is going to be acted upon. Not everything is practical, but it's so important that there are avenues to make sure that not only are we receiving information, we have that opportunity to be able to give it back. And I know that our volunteers, our members, our exhibitors, at DSC, any organization, let's be honest, have such incredible feedback and things that they do want to share and share back. And so I think making sure we have those feedback loops. I mean, to be specific, it's the ability to be able to comment on social. It's the ability to be involved in forums or focus groups. It's that a suggestion box actually gets opened and read. Crazy stuff, But really being involved in that communication, that it's not omnidirectional, that we really do have a loop, and that we, can demonstrate that. And so to me, that's sort of, where I would be leaning very heavily.
Fantastic. You're right. In advertising, and generally somebody has to see it a minimum about 7 times before they really start paying attention to it. And I think we've done so many great things through DSC and to some extent too with TWA, but the word has never really gotten out. We just assume that, oh yeah, people are going to find out about it. Not if you don't put anything out there. And then, as you mentioned, that 1 or 2 times, that doesn't cut it, because you really need to have that consistency of providing information out there. And sometimes it can almost be the same information with a different photograph, kind of thing, to where they see the photo and next another photograph, well, they've forgotten what they read. Well, about the 6th or 7th time they read it, maybe they'll, somebody will pay attention. But the communication things, I think we're at a new portal, or for lack of or gate or whatever, with DSC in particular on the communication side of things, because there's so many fantastic things that organization has done that nobody's ever known about.
Yeah, that's exactly it. There is so many great things. And again, as adults, we learn and take things in a variety of different ways. Some of us just need to see it, some of us need to hear it, and some of us need to put our hands on it,
Exactly.
And so we learn differently, and that's my background. I mean, we're here talking about my work with DSC, but my actual where I get paid is around human performance, and I work in organizations to help them grow and be better through people, and through people, which is always the competitive advantage. The reason why companies are successful is through people, and communication and education are so intertwined, because we take information in like the way we learn. And so it's really important that we speak to people in a multiple of different ways. And there's really, really great work there. It's being able to do it's more of it. It's more of it with more regularity. And so, yeah, I'm excited about all of that, without a doubt.
I'm excited to hear what you're saying, because this is something that I've wanted to see happen for a long time, but it's started, and I think we're just barely getting started as far as DSC is concerned. If somebody is, and we're going to cut this short here in just a little bit, but what's your best advice for somebody that hears this, or people that we talk to? How do we tell them to get involved with DSC? Why should they be involved with DSC?
Yeah, I think if you are passionate about wildlife, if you are passionate about protecting the resources that exist for us, or that exist, number one, there has to be a passion and a love for it, or at least an appreciation that maybe the next generation wants to love and appreciate it. If you can't get behind it, maybe someone in your life wants to get behind it. But I think that's important. With passion, we find a way. We always find a way with passion. And so I would say look deep, look to understand what it is that you want to be involved in and why. And then it's just a matter, most importantly, let's start with the website. That's a great place to start. biggame.org is a great place to go and to get started, to understand who we are and what it is that we're doing. And then I would say if you're, you want to start that two-way, that the social media channels are great places to go and start to get engaged and begin those conversations. We have a number of chapters. I think, Larry, over 23? Am I quoting that right?
23, and I think we're not far from 25
Fantastic.
Right now as well, too. I know there's at least one or two more that are coming on board.
That's
it.
Shortly. And it's important to note that it's not Texas only at all. We are talking about a national, international, organization. It reaches, I'm sure, all 7 continents.
It does.
Give or take with the 7th, but yes.
Yeah, even on Antarctica, there are things that we
absolutely we have
thing.
Influence of it. Exactly. So there are chapters, and I cannot stress the importance of finding out that local chapter. So if you're in an area where you don't have a chapter, the national, the DSC national, join in there, get involved there. 100% you can do that. Come to the conventions. I'm going to push that till the end of time. Be at the galas, be at the convention. It is the convention itself is a very inexpensive day ticket to be able to come and fully immerse in the space and see these incredible people. But if you're in a town where there's a chapter, again, go to biggame.org. There'll be a tab there that has chapters. Find out where they are, and there is an entire community within that chapter that wants you there, that wants you to be a part of it, and can show you how you can get involved. Either it's something that you want to learn personally or for your family, or how you can give back, either within your own community where the chapter's based, or even beyond. The chapters are incredible. They have such a phenomenal, important, critical say in the way that dollars get spent in this organization. And so you really can be a very important voice in the process of how DSC moves forward. And the chapters are a great way to do that.
The chapters really are a great way to do that, and we're scattered all over and adding new chapters all the time. Not very long ago, I was at the Mid-Atlantic chapter at their fundraiser and the speaker, and I'm getting ready to go to, I think Oklahoma is up next, and East Texas, but they're chapters all over the country, and including we're adding some, I think, in Mexico and Canada as well now. Now, one of the things that's so great about DSC chapters are they're their own 501(c) charitable organization. Interestingly, at their top fundraiser, they get to keep 75% of their income. 20% of that income goes to the DSC Foundation. But interestingly, that chapter gets to tell the foundation where they want the money to go to.
Exactly.
And then there's 5% that actually goes to DSC proper, and that's to get guys like Bruce Borowski, who travels all over the country with his wife Lisa, helping set up chapters. And Mike, I apologize because I just forgot your last name down in the Southeast. But we've got 2 guys here in charge of setting up chapters, maintaining chapters. And I would strongly, as you just said, recommend, if you live anywhere close to where there's a chapter, to attend those events. And you can find those on the biggame.org website. But then also talk to Bruce, which is Bruce at biggame.org, and ask him about learning more information about how you could start a chapter in your area. And I'll go back to that. Essentially 95% of the top fundraiser, that chapter gets control. Now, if they have another fundraiser that year, they control all that money. So I challenge any organization out there that comes even close to doing anything like that. I've been involved in these kind of things for a long time, and I've never run across one that does what DSC does. Any other thing you might want to add before we close this out and go get a fresh cup of coffee?
Oh, just that I feel like I'm sitting here at the table with a legend of the space. I'm going to make you blush now, Larry. No, it's just an absolute honor to get to know you, without a doubt. We're going to have a very busy week in July, I think, between TWA and DSC. It's a very, very big week.
Exactly, we will. I think TWA is July, starts the 10th, and I think the DSC Foundation Gala there at the Gaylord in Grapevine starts on the 17th. So lots of great things. That's going to be a busy month, but it will be an absolutely great fun month as well, too.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much. It's thank you for taking the time to get to know me, and I am incredibly honored and very grateful. You know, when I said this when the announcement was made, I'm grateful for the trust that our volunteers, that our members, exhibitors, that the organization has placed in me, and I promise I'm going to be that annoying person at the meeting asking all the questions and helping make sure that we've got something that's sustainable, that's lasting and multi-generational, and I'm very committed to that for our wildlife, for conservation. So thank you for the time.
Miss Rebecca, thank you so very much for your time and what you've done already and where you're going to go to in the future. Really appreciate you, and I know everybody else that's out there that loves the outdoors, loves wildlife, all those kind of great things having to do anything in the outdoors. In the long run, they'll start hearing that name of Rebecca Jones more and more in the future. And thank you so very much for joining us here today around the campfire. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back here again next week. No telling where, but look forward to visiting with some of the greatest people in the world, those that love the outdoors, and we'll see you here next week.
DSC's Campfires has also been brought to you by the Crown Bar in LaGrange, Texas, Texas Wildlife Association, Habit, Our Gear, Your Adventure, Double Nickel Taxidermy, and Burnham Brothers Game Calls.